Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Show Us Your Kit for Series 2. We're joined today by Ben James from the View from the Ninian podcast. How are you doing, Ben?
Yeah, all good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. But you've just come off the back of some playoff heartbreak. As Wolves fans, we're well versed in that kind of feeling. How are you at this moment in terms of that?
Yeah, all good, really. I think, I think back earlier in the season, it didn't look like we were going to get anywhere near the playoffs. And then obviously we had the kind of Harris came in and it has rallied us a little bit. And I think, despite going out in the semi-finals and losing to Fulham, we gave a good show of ourselves. I think especially in the second game and the second half of the second game, it was there for the taking, really. And we just didn't get the chances over the line, and obviously Fulham went on to win it. So it's no bad thing losing to the eventual winners. So it's given us more cause for optimism, I think, going into next season. If we'd wilted, then it would have been a lot worse. But we actually gave it a go. So there's not more you can ask for, really.
And I suppose anybody but Swansea getting promoted from the playoffs would have been a success for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that was my big worry, really, because obviously they put in a good show against Brentford in the first leg, and there was that kind of brief moment where you think, God, if we get to the final and lose to them, it's gonna, you'll never hear the end of it. So I'm glad they fell apart in the second leg, and I'm glad that we didn't have to go through with that. I mean, it almost happened a few years ago, and it's just, I was thinking this year, I don't think I would have been able to watch the game. I genuinely don't think I would have been able to watch the game on telly because it would have just been too stressful. Like way too stressful to even enjoy a game of football. So I'm glad it didn't happen for that reason, and I'm also glad it didn't happen because we can laugh at them again a little bit more.
So just put it into perspective for us, because as a Wolves fan, obviously Albion are our biggest rivalry, and we haven't had that for 8 years, which is the longest ever in the history of the Football League. But
yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, you tended to have played Swansea quite fairly regularly. So just talk us through that rivalry and what it means to you.
Yeah, I think we went a few years like yourselves where they were in League One and League Two and we were in the Championship and we didn't come across each other. But over the last few years, it's become a bit more regular. It's a weird derby, really, because I think we're smack bang in the middle of Bristol and Swansea. So we have a rivalry with Bristol and rivalry with Swansea. And I think there's an element of us, I mean, a lot of Cardiff fans would say they hate Bristol and they don't mind Swansea, but they just don't want them to be a success. And I think what tends to happen is when we play them year on year, no team has ever done the double. So whoever wins that first leg is kind of on the up, and you never want to be the team who's going to lose the second leg to lose the double. And I think it kind of comes from them a little bit, really. I think Swansea fans and Swansea as a city are a bit bitter about Cardiff being the capital, and that kind of comes up a little bit, and it's a bit of a kind of a big brother, little brother scenario. And I think when it doesn't involve us, I'm quite happy for Swansea to be successable when they're in the Premier League and having all those glory years. It was nice to see a Welsh club doing really well. But it should never be at our expense. So now we're in the same division again. I don't want them sitting ahead of us. So that's what it's about, really,
Yeah. So let's just finish off this introduction by just summarising this season. So you said that Neil Harris kind of brought it back to life when he was introduced, but yeah. Warnock has been a bit of a character on our podcast already. We've had a few. The documentary with him at Sheffield United has been mentioned a few times. Just, did you like Warnock, or were you glad to see the back of him in the end? Because he did a very good job in hindsight at Cardiff, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think so. When Warnock came in, I think we were a club kind of at a bit of a crossroads. We'd had a few years of the red kit under various managers who hadn't done very well. Got back to the blue kit, and we'd gone into that season under Paul Trollope, and it just didn't work out. And I think we just needed a manager to come in and sort it out. And as a club, we've always had our run-ins with Warnock. I don't think there's any football club out there that hasn't had a run-in with Warnock. He's that kind of divisive character. But he came in and he just brought an energy to the place and got the fans on board really quickly. Signed some quality footballers, and then took us up in his first full season. That first full season when we came up with you guys. It was one of the best seasons we've had as a football fan. And then in the Premier League, it's very well documented what went on in the Premier League. There was, we've wranglings over strikers who tragically passed away and things like that. And then we missed out on staying up by the odd refereeing decision, and then he left. And I think, frankly, he should have gone probably in the summer. He spent a lot of money last summer on players that don't look very good. People like Aidan Flint, and then Harris has come in, and though it didn't start very well under Harris, he's turned us around. I think we're becoming more of a football side. No one needs to say under Warnock that it's a very direct, very direct way of playing football. We don't have much possession. We don't recycle the ball very much. We just get it forward as quickly as we can. Under Harris, we're learning to recycle the ball a bit more. We're actually out passing teams and dominating possession in some games, which is a rarity for a Cardiff side who, are known to play hoofball. So, optimistic under Harris. He got us into the playoffs. He got us some really good results, beat Leeds, beat Preston, we beat Bristol when it really mattered, and then we just fell away at the final hurdle. So, I think going into next season with a whatever pre-season the football clubs are getting this year under Harris will be an exciting thing.
So put your neck on the line for me now. Where do you see next season ending up?
I think we'll be in the playoffs. I just think, I'm sure you're thinking the same thing as well. The leagues next year are going to be really weird. I think there's not much money going to be flying around unless you're a big club. There's going to be players leaving clubs because they can't afford them anymore. And I think that the shortened preseason, shortened transfer window and all that kind of stuff is just going to make for a really fascinating few months. So I think the fact that if we can take the momentum from this season into next year, keep the core of the squad together, then I'm confident that we can replicate the playoffs this year, maybe even higher, depending on what other clubs do. It's such an unknown at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But let's have a look at your first kit then, the one that we've come to see. So your first Cardiff City shirt for us, please.
First Cardiff shirt. Let me just turn around and grab it. So it's from the Premier League year. It's our away shirt from that year. I've got a name and number on the back, Victor Camarasa.
Nice.
As a grown man, getting a name on the back of the shirt feels weird, but I had to for Victor.
So why is that shirt so special?
I think it was just, we talked about it off air. I think it was the kind of, we were back in the Premier League. It felt like we'd arrived as a football club. And I think it was really enjoyable being in the Premier League and in blue. And I know it's the away kit, but it was like we had a proper Adidas supplier with, years before we had people like E. Cosway, who no one had ever heard of. So it was an Adidas kit with the Premier League badges on the side. And I think it was just a really enjoyable season. I mentioned it at the start that, we ended up going down and there were lots of off-field stuff going on. But on the whole, the Premier League season was really enjoyable. And we got to see players like Victor Camarasa playing for us, who I think is probably, he as a Spanish loanee, he came in and he just got involved with the football club from the off. He just got the football club. He got the fans. He got involved, and he's probably one of the better footballers we've seen at the club in years. And I think he scored. So that shirt was worn when we beat Leicester. I think it was just after Christmas. I can't remember the exact day. And we beat them 1-0 with a 94th minute goal. And you can find it on YouTube. It's to score a goal like that at 94 minutes, where he rolled it out from under his feet and curled it over Kasper Schmeichel into the far corner. It was just unbelievable. And I think that shirt kind of encapsulates all the good that happened in the Premier League.
Yeah. Was there any other standout moments from that season apart from beating us at the Cardiff City Stadium, getting revenge for that the season before?
Yeah, that ridiculous game from the season before. Yeah, I mean, there was lots of highlights in the Premier League. I think we got relegated ultimately, but I think there was a lot to take from the season. I think we beating you. I mean, that Junior Hoylett goal again was ridiculous, wasn't it? The first time shot into the far corner. I think he couldn't do. I say he couldn't do that. He has scored a few goals like that for us, but like to do it in such a pressure cooker environment. Because I remember the atmosphere at that game was particularly kind of. Particularly raucous. There was a Friday night game in Cardiff. Other highlights, I mean, we like the Leicester game, as I just said, we had a few really good home performances. We beat West Ham at home. And then the final day of the season, I think we went to Old Trafford and pretty much stuffed them 2-0, which was, we'd already gone down at that point, and I think we kind of accepted our fate. But I think to go to Old Trafford and beat Man United 2-0 on any day of the season is an incredible thing to do. And I think as a way to bow out of the Premier League, we beat them 2-0. We looked comfortable when they had people like Pogba on the pitch, De Gea on the pitch, and we had Nathaniel Mendes-Lang and Sean Morrison, the hardly household names. And it was just a nice way to see out the season. And I think as a Cardiff fan who's come through a lot of really bad times at the club in terms of being even down in like League Two or the old Division 3 as it were, and getting dumped out the playoffs in the old Division 2, Division 3 to then beat Man United at Old Trafford on the final day of the season. It was kind of a sweet sweet moment to savour. Yeah,
nice. I've got to ask your opinion on that crazy game from 2018 against Wolves at Easter time. I don't think I've ever spoken to a Cardiff fan about it, but I was in the away end on that game, and I've never seen scenes like it. But then I imagine it was heartbreaking your end.
Yeah, I mean, okay. You guys quite close up until points, and I think that game in particular just crystallized how ridiculous the championship is. Obviously, you went. Was it Ruben Neves who scored the free kick? And you had it was from the sublime to the ridiculous because Ruben Neves is probably one of the best players I've ever played in the championship, and he was scoring goals like that for fun. And then what was it, 2 penalties in the last 3 minutes? One that the keeper saved, one that Junior Hoylett hit smacked off the bar. It was just. It didn't really affect things at the end of the season because we got promoted in the end and everything was okay. But it was just, I remember thinking at the time that it was just that the world was crashing down around us because we were presented 2 gilt-edged opportunities. You get 1 penalty in the 90th minute and you go, this is our chance. And then to miss that penalty and get a second penalty in the 93rd minute or whatever it was and also miss that, it was just like, it felt like at that point it was not going to be our year because we couldn't do the basic stuff. And, Gary Medine took the first penalty and I don't know what he was doing taking that first penalty. I feel like if Hoylett had taken that first one, he probably would have scored it. But instead, the pressure built up on the second one. And then obviously what we saw at the final whistle with Neil Warnock telling your man to do one in no uncertain terms. I mean, it was an amazing night, and I think, ultimately it was disappointing that we lost to you guys, but I think it didn't affect things in the long run. So it was quite fun. Looking back, it was quite funny to be involved in such a stupid game of football. It is what it is.
As I've been doing these podcasts, most Wolves fans bring that up as being one of their all-time highlights of being a Wolves fan. So
really?
It's nice to see that the other side of that.
But genuinely, I mean, like if we could be part of one of those moments for you guys, then by all means, it's quite nice to be on the other side of the foot in that sense. And I think other side of the coin, sorry, in that sense. And I think. Like I said, it didn't ultimately impact us. At the time, it was like the world had ended, but we ultimately got promoted with you guys. So it was quite fun then to be able to have that almost like a mini derby next year when we met again.
Well, there's always been some kind of rivalry between Wolves and Cardiff, haven't there? I remember Cardiff fans being banned from travelling down, and we've had to go in bubbles to Cardiff as well. But I don't feel any animosity towards the Cardiff fans. I don't know if it's reciprocated.
No, the times I've met Wolves fans, I've got friends who are from Wolverhampton. I've got friends who are Wolves fans. I think we get along really well, kind of personally. But I think it was was it Jez Moxey who was your chairman? I think he was the one who had trouble with us because I remember the game that I think caused the banning, or one of the games before that caused the banning. We came to Molineux to play you guys back in, I think it was 2004, 2005, and we won 3-2. Graham Kavanagh scored an incredible volley off a corner that he whipped across the goal. And then I remember coming out of that game and there was trouble then. And then I think the season after, they closed the bar at half-time. And our fans, as all football fans do, love a drink. And it all kicked off in the concourse. And then the game after that, for whatever reason, it was just decided that Cardiff fans weren't going to come. And I remember that was the game that we beat you. I think we beat you 1-0 with Jason Byrne scoring.
And it was silence.
His only goal for Cardiff. Yeah, silence. And I do know of a story. Apparently, there were some Cardiff fans who hired a helicopter and were flying overhead during the game. But I can't vouch for that story's veracity. But I've heard that story from a number of different sources.
That's that'll be the title of the podcast. Let me just write that down. Helicopter.
Yeah, make a note of that. But no, I agree. As fans, I think we get on quite well. I think we're both quite similar in our terms of outlook. It's always been a bit dour for us, hasn't it, as football clubs and. We enjoy the successes a lot, and I think it's almost like a club. It was almost like a rivalry crystallized in time, and I think it's just boiled over every now and again because of people like Neil Warnock.
Yeah, right. So let's have a look at your next kit then. So a non-Cardiff kit for us.
Well, you said it could be anything, right? You said it could be a different sport and all that kind of stuff. So I've gone for an ice hockey jersey. It's a Boston College ice hockey jersey.
Okay.
It's quite niche. I will admit that it's quite niche, but I think the story behind it is I went visit my friend in America. He lived out in America for a year, and I kind of went to see him for a few weeks. And during one of the weeks, I was like, right, I'm going to go and see a bit of America that I haven't seen before. So I got the bus up from New York. I went up to Boston, and I was going to Boston. I was like, maybe I can go see the Boston Bruins or one of the kind of big NHL ice hockey teams that are in the area, and transpired I couldn't. They weren't in playing at that point, so I had to find kind of alternative arrangements, as it were. And I found out Boston College were playing. So it was kind of like an eye opener for me, because obviously over here I went to university and played football for the university, but not many people came to watch our games. Let me tell you that. And I think if you go to watch Boston College, there's 6,000 people in the crowd. It's almost like professional level ice hockey, and it was just a fascinating thing to see. Really, I think I've always had a fascination for American things and American culture, and being able to go and watch Boston College and I felt very kind of like a fish out of water. I was traveling by myself at that point, so I was a lone British guy going to watch Boston College play Notre Dame in an ice hockey match that I don't think it really had anything riding on it, but it was $20 to go watch it. That jersey was $75. I think she gave me a $25 discount because I was a British guy.
Oh, wow.
And I wear that, I wear that jersey all the time. It's like nice sentimental feeling with me.
Nice. Well, I've never seen any ice hockey in real life. Is it like they show it in the movies? Is it just fighting and scrapping?
It's not a college level, but it is at other levels. So it's probably my second favorite sport, ice hockey. So I have football, and then I try and watch a bit of ice hockey, because being from Cardiff actually has quite a good ice hockey team, the Cardiff Devils. But at college level, it's not. I think fighting might be outlawed at college level, but it is as rough as you might expect when you actually go watch it. The kind of I'm always amazed, because I think, I watch footballers and I think, God, you're good at what you do. But then you go watch ice hockey players, and they're on ice skates that, the thinnest blades possible. They're holding a hockey stick, and they're playing on an arena that's only 200 feet long, and I think it's about 50 feet wide. So the skill level involved in ice hockey just blows my mind. Yeah. I think got to get a puck in the goal, and you can almost do anything you want to get it there. And I think that's what the attraction is for me.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, the only problem I have with most American sports, the problem I got with basketball is that there are too many points, and the points are worthless. Then when there's 200 points in a game,
I agree,
and it's decided by 1 point, then that's too silly. That's too much for me. American football is too slow. There's too many stops and too many breaks, but I can appreciate the intricacy of the plays and stuff like that. That's fine. Ice hockey, I think, might be the way forward for me, because it looks really quick, but the goals seem to actually be worth something, because they're really tight goals and the big goalkeepers in it. It seems to be a really skillful sport.
Yeah, and I think that's it for me. It's in a weird way, it's probably the closest to football you can get, because games do end generally sort of 2-1, 3-1. There's a lot of skill to it. It's tight. It's quite fast, and the game doesn't really let up. And I think that's the thing for me. I went to watch a few NHL games, and I think the most I saw goals in one game was 4-2. So that's kind of as close to football scoring as you can get in that sense. Yeah, so I think that's where the attraction is for me as well.
Perfect. Right, we're going to move on to the next part of our program, which is to show some photos. We've had to adapt the format because videos kept getting blocked by UEFA and FIFA because they didn't like it. So I've asked you for a photograph of yourself. And then a non-photograph of yourself, but to do with sports. So this is you, apparently, although we can't see you on on the picture. But tell us the story behind this one.
You have to take my word for it. Yeah. So this is it's a charity football match. So this might show the photo's age. Years ago, I was involved in a Cardiff City message board, pre-Twitter, if you will. And it was a charity match because we were just opening the new stadium. So the new Cardiff City Stadium was obviously opened around 2010. And we wanted to build a statue to Fred Keenor, who was the FA Cup winning captain from 1927. And this was kind of like the start of the fundraising event. So it was the Cardiff City message board, which was the message board I was part of, against the AAMB message board, which is run by a fairly prominent Cardiff City fan. And this is a photo from the game. And you can't see me because at that point I'm absolutely slamming in a penalty. So you can see the ball's trajectory. I can't remember what happened in the lead up to the penalty, but it was like, right, we've got a penalty. And I was just adamant that I was taking it. I think I'm a centre half by trade, but I think I've spent my years watching Darren Pearce and watching him step up and take penalties. So I was like, this is my moment to replicate him. And yeah, you can just see me at that point. The ball's just left my foot, and it was heading. I hit it so well, and there was a video of it, and I can't for the life of me find the video because I hit this penalty so hit kind of where the goal stanchion is, the back of it, it's in that top corner and bounced out. And it was just when I ran forward to take the penalty, I was like, I've got this in me, and it was perfect. Nice. And I think we won the game in the end. CCMB, the Cardiff City Message Board, won the game 4-2. And I think I came away with the Man of the Match award. So, you know, says how determined I was that day to get.
Brilliant. So, did you get the statue built then? Did you manage to raise enough money for that?
Yeah. So I don't know if any Wolves fans would have seen it. So because obviously you guys get bussed in, don't you? So you don't necessarily have a chance to walk around.
I do remember seeing a statue
it's
with
on the corner. So
yeah, I do. I can vaguely remember it, but for some reason I thought it was the manager, not the captain. But
no, Fred Keener was our captain, and I think it was his grandson or his great grandson. Forgive me if I can't remember his actual age. Was involved in the fundraising efforts, and he was actually there on the day watching the game. And yeah, we got enough money in the end. I can't remember what other fundraising activities happened, but there was about 2 or 3 football matches. There was raffles and all that kind of stuff. On this day, it was obviously a very good day for me because obviously we had a raffle afterwards, and I took away the top prize, which was a Jay Bothroyd signed shirt, which probably isn't a top prize for you lot, but it is.
He scored a goal to win us a game against the Albion, so he's immortal with us as well. So that's fine.
He's golden with you guys.
Yeah. Right. I just want to get.
We actually just on the Jay Bothroyd note.
Go on.
I was just we had Jay Bothroyd on a podcast recently, and he was slightly less than complimentary about Mick McCarthy at the time at the club.
I think that it's reciprocated as well. Mick McCarthy has said a few things about Jay Bothroyd in the past that I don't think they were best of friends. But yeah, right. Let's have a look at your your final picture then, which is a classic photo. Any football fan from the 70s will know this picture, but also any Super Furry Animals fan will know this as well from their album cover. So tell us about the man, Robin Friday, why he's so special, and also why you've chosen this picture.
Yeah, so I mean, you said the story at the top. It's one of the most famous kind of iconic 70s football photos out there. So I think we were playing Luton on this day, and as my dad was at the game, which I'll get to shortly, he tells the story that him and the goalkeeper had just been getting at each other all game. I think Robin Friday was, as the Super Furry Animals said, the man didn't give a whatever the proverbial, and he was going at the goalie all game. And as I understand it, he took the ball from a free kick here and ran at the goalie and just absolutely blasted it past him as he ran away. He kind of obviously flicks in the V's, and I just think it's. Robin Friday was a player that my dad told me about all the time. I think my dad was lucky enough to see most of the games he played in for Cardiff, especially at home. And I think he's an icon in that sense. I think there's stories of him winding up Bobby Moore by grabbing his genitals when he played for Fulham against Cardiff. There's stories of what's the referee, Clive Thomas, the relatively famous Welsh referee from the World Cup, and said that. He was better than Georgie Best, and he was just this. He's almost mythical because he's so kind of intrinsically linked to Cardiff City history, especially for me because of my dad telling me all about him. But he only played something like 25 games for us, and he was gone before he'd really had a chance to really embed himself into the club. And I think that just says a lot about him as a person. He was obviously a bit ethereal, a bit kind of a bit of like a waif and a stray. He just kind of went where the wind took him. And obviously I chose this photo for that reason, but also because literally smack bang in the center of this photo is my mum and dad. So there, I don't know if you could. There's a way of zooming in, but there's a guy in the middle who's kind of wearing a leathery jacket with his arms above his head and clapping.
I can see. I'll just see if I can. This gentleman here.
So that if you scroll, I can't really see it, but yeah, that's my mum and dad are there. So yeah, the kind of with the white on the jacket, that's my dad, and then to the left is my mum. And to the right is my mum, right as we look at it. And it's just kind of it's kind of fun that this photo is obviously so iconic for so many reasons, but it's also incredibly iconic for me and my family, because the whole reason I support Cardiff City and the whole reason I go and the whole reason Robin Friday means a lot is because my mum and dad were there to see it kind of unfold. And everywhere I go, like I've been drunk in bars and this photo's been on the wall, and I've just gone over to it and gone, "Oh, it's my mum and dad," because it's just like it's they've got copies of it at home and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just like it's a really cool family thing to say that my mum and dad are in that photo in the background.
That's a very, very good story. But it's also a really tragic story as well, Robin Friday. I was reading about it yesterday when she sent the picture through, and he died at 38 from a heart attack, which is crazy. But the life that he led sort of led itself to that drinking and drugs and stuff. But from what I read as well, he was a very, very good footballer. And I think I read the quote that he could have played for England had he have just settled down and played properly. I think there were, I think it was Fulham perhaps or Brentford that were trying to sign him once he left Cardiff, but he just couldn't sort of maintain his engagement in the game, and just I think that adds to the nature of him.
Oh, for sure. And I think there's the Super Furry Animals wrote that song about him, and there's a book about him called The Greatest Footballer You Never Saw, and that's if anyone's there's another come out now at the moment, but forgive me, I can't remember the name of it. It's by an author called Stuart Kane. But there's a couple of books about him, and he's well worth a read, because I think as much as he was this brilliant footballer and it ended in quite a tragic way, I think there was I think there's some quotes from him basically saying things like, well, I've lived, people said, if you knuckle down, you can be a footballer, but he said, yeah, but I can live twice the life that you will lead, and all that kind of stuff. So I think he was just this quite iconic renegade character, and I think Cardiff fans, and especially of that period, were very lucky to see him, I think, because there were times when he was at his kind of in his pomp with us where he was just incredible. And there's not that much video footage of him. I think that's the really tragic thing as well. There's a few videos of him when he was at Reading and maybe one or two from Cardiff, but there's not a lot of footage out there of him, which again I think probably adds to the mythos around him, because he was just it feels like he was of a different time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, he also did something I think quite a lot of footballers would like to have done, and that's kick Mark Lawrenson in the face. But
yeah, that's brilliant.
But let's move on to the final part of the show then. So I've asked you for a mystery piece of memorabilia. We've had all sorts of things. We've had ticket stubs. We've had stories about people meeting Brian Clough and all sorts. So what have you got for us today?
Well, there was two options really, and the one option was going to be a shirt I wore on Football Focus that really got up, funnily, Mark Lawrenson's nose. But what I've gone for again is a ticket stub, and it's from the only game I've ever been to that was been abandoned. So I'll hold it to the camera. It was Haringey Borough versus Yeovil Town, and it was a relatively recent game. It was so I'm one of those weird Cardiff fans who I live in London, and since I've been in London, I've gotten into the kind of non-league football. And Haringey are one of my nominated clubs, so go and watch Haringey. It was quite a big day for them. I think it was first round of the FA Cup. Yeovil Town were a big kind of kind of a big draw. What's the word I'm looking for? National League, so not quite Football League, but National League, and they came down. And I mean, the game got to about 60 minutes, and Yeovil got a penalty, and that's when it all kicked off, because there was a lot of allegations of racist abuse from the opposing fans. And it was just one of I highlight it because I think it came at a really weird time in football as a whole, because at that point Bulgaria had just got into a lot of trouble for kind of racially abusing English football fans, obviously, and English football players, and rightly so, they were lambasted for it. And I think this came off the back of that. And I remember being there on the day, and it's one of the most surreal things that you can see, really, that you just don't expect it to happen. And I think that was the thing that kind of came from it, really. We were at this game and something happened at the other end of the pitch. You don't really see what's going on. And then all of a sudden, the Haringey players are being dragged off the pitch. There's kind of a bit of chatter amongst the fans about what's going on. And I remember tweeting about it. And if you look for the story now, my photo kind of got in the press story, and it kind of went everywhere. I remember being in, so Haringey Borough is a very small ground. It's literally one stand and then a 4G pitch with kind of fencing around it. And Ian Abrahams from TalkSport was there. I think the guys had literally hot-footed it, because I think Tottenham were playing at Wembley at that night. Guys from the FA had hot-footed it from Wembley to the Haringey to kind of figure out what was going on. There was police there, and it was it was just a really surreal day, and I think it was really bizarre to see in real life that kind of, because I think at that point, and I think it kind of was at the start of what's gone on now at the moment. There's been a lot of highlighting of the kind of disparity in the game, right? And I think I remember being at that game and thinking it felt like a bit of a watershed moment, really, that there was going to be more to this than just kind of brushed under the rug. And as far as I know, the investigation's still ongoing. I think that the fans have been bailed, but I think they're still looking to see what actually happened, because I think it was the Haringey goalkeeper who I think he was spat at, and they had stuff thrown at him, and there were a few comments and things like that, and it was just it was a really surreal day, and I just remember thinking that this shouldn't be happening in kind of English, British, Welsh, British football, basically.
Yeah. I remember that. I didn't know the team when you showed me the ticket stuff, but as soon as you started talking, I realised, oh yeah, it's that game from. I mean, when was it? Last sort of October, November time, the first round of the FA Cup. Yeah,
so, last October.
Yeah, very.
It was
very...
just. I remember being there, and all of us. I go watch a lot of non-league football, right? And I go watch teams where no one cares that the game's going on. There's 20 or 30 people in the crowd, but I remember all of a sudden people were texting me, going, "Are you at the game? What's going on?" And it was kind of, it was really bizarre that and especially it shows in this kind of world that how quickly news travels, and all of a sudden Haringey Borough were this small football club who were plastered on the front page of everything, and all for the wrong reasons in the end of it, really.
And you are right in saying that it was a watershed moment, because I think the England team had kind of been criticised the week before for not leaving the pitch, but they had followed UEFA's protocols, and Haringey went...
They followed protocol, right?
Yeah, we're not playing anymore, which I suppose we might start seeing more teams doing once crowds are back. Well, hopefully we don't have to see it all, but if it is to happen, then hopefully we see... players taking a bit more of a stance.
I think that was it. I think I remember, as much as the situation was horrible, I remember feeling kind of proud, really, that the Haringey team, the Haringey fans, the Haringey kind of officials had responded in the right way. I remember that they left the pitch, and we managed to speak to a few of them in the clubhouse after the game, and they were really kind of dignified about the whole thing, and said, we just wanted to make a stand. And I just remember coming away from it and thinking that, Haringey is, it's in Tottenham, so it's in a multi-diverse area. It's supported by quite liberal football fans, and I remember thinking that if it happened anywhere else, it could have been a slightly different kind of reaction to it. But I remember thinking at the time that it was, it was a really good reaction from the fans and the club, and it showed that it won't be tolerated, and I think it was important.
Brilliant. Well, very good to chat to you, Ben, and we'll just give everybody a little pointer as to where they can find you on different social medias, and the name of your blog again.
Yeah. So we're View from the Ninian. You can find us on Twitter at VFT Ninian. So View from the Ninian in kind of, I don't know what the word is, but spelt out. And then you can find our podcast on all the places you find your podcast. And if you want some free beer, go to beer52.com VFTN. So.
Love that. Right, and you can get in touch with this podcast as well at showusyourkitpod@gmail.com. If you've got any stories about any club, we're more than welcome to read them out and talk to you. But thanks again, Ben. It's been lovely chatting to you, and all the best for Cardiff for next season, whenever that might be. And hopefully we'll be playing each other again in the Premier League very, very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and good luck in was it the Europa League tonight? So good luck in that.
Yeah. I can't believe I forgot about that, but never mind. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe and rate it on Spotify and iTunes and everything. And we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.